Hey everyone, blessings and welcome. Before we get into our topic, I just want to say a big thank you to all of you out there. Those of you who've been watching this channel, supportive of this channel, to my subscribers. And if you're new here, I just want to say welcome and also thank you to you. And I just want you to know, if you're watching this video, if you're watching this channel, just know that I am praying for you. I pray for all of my viewers. And I pray that God will bless you. I'm also praying and asking God to lead people to this channel, to my videos, for him to lead people here who need to hear my messages the most, the people who will benefit the most from my messages and from what I have to share. So I know this channel is not for everyone, but if you are here, I'm glad that you're here. I'm definitely praying for you. Listen, I don't take this lightly. There are over 100 million YouTube channels, and you happen to be here listening to me. So that's a big deal for me, and I don't take it lightly. And I see it as an honor and as a privilege. I don't take this platform for granted. And if I can be a blessing to you in any way by what I have to share, I think that's just wonderful. I don't see it as an entitlement, not one bit. So thank you for being here. So I have an interesting message for you in this video. We're going to talk once again about jealousy. Now, I have done a few videos on this topic, but I think I want to expand on this topic a little bit more and talk about a type of jealous person that I think we need to pay a little bit more attention to, specifically especially if you are a person who is looking to level up in life, if you have a lot of goals and dreams and you're moving up the ladder, your career ladder, or, wherever God is taking you. Listen, your gifts and your talents and your abilities are going to bring you before great people, right? So if you're tuned in and you're dialed in and God has great things in store for you and you have great things to share in the world, it's going to bring you, your gifts and your talents are going to bring you before great people. And this is the problem that many of us run into. Once we get into these circles and once we get around these great people, we don't think about jealousy. We don't think that that leader, that person with power and with authority could actually be jealous of us. And if you're dealing with another human being, jealousy is possible, regardless of their status in life, regardless of the title that they have. They could be jealous of you. Now, this person could have more than you materially. They can have the title. They can have more money than you. They can have the bigger house, the nice luxury car. They can have the money. They can have the prestige. They can have the love, the adoration from others, the respect from others. They could be good looking. They can have things that you don't have. Yet in their insecurity, and because you may have something that they don't have and they happen to be insecure, that person who is a leader, that person with power and authority could be jealous of you. And the problem that we run into is that we don't expect it. We don't expect that leader in the church. We don't expect that manager that we report to, that boss, that CEO, that person in our community with prestige, that person with the title. We don't expect these people, our mentors, our teachers. We don't expect these people to be jealous of us, and they can be. So definitely be on a watch out for the jealous person with power, because they can do a lot of damage because they have power, right? And especially if we're in a role where we're serving them in some way, or we're a subordinate, it could be a lot of problems for us. And we have to be able to detect the jealousy within that person with power so we can protect ourselves. Now, this type of jealous person is highlighted in great detail actually in the Bible, in the book of 1 Samuel. So 1 Samuel chapters 8 through 31, we get the story of the first kings of Israel. And the first king of Israel was King Saul, right? So King Saul had it going on. King Saul was anointed and appointed by God. Israel, they begged God for a king. And, before that, they were ruled by judges. They begged God for a king. The prophet Samuel warned Israel. These are all the bad things that could happen if you get a king like everybody else. And they said, no, we want a king. And God was like, okay, I'll give you a king. So it was Saul who was appointed king. And Saul was handsome, tall. You would look at Saul and you would see a king, right? He had that presence about him, right? And initially, his reign at first was good and the people loved him. Right? But he did something that was not pleasing to God. He was disobedient and he fell out of favor with God. And God was like, listen, because of your disobedience, I am basically going to fire you from the throne and I'm going to anoint and appoint a new king. Right? So Saul had that insecurity within him because he knew that his days as a king was numbered and that someone else he's going to be replaced basically by someone else. Here comes David, right? So David is, I guess, like many of us, right? He's this up and coming kid and he's a shepherd. He has a lowly position. He even has a lowly position in his family. He's the youngest. So he's not even entitled to anything. So, he's out there in the fields and, protecting the sheep and watching the sheep, and he's a shepherd. But he's also, David, he's also a very talented person. He's a very talented poet, a very talented musician. And these gifts that brings him, and it's going to be your gifts that will bring you before great people, right? So it was the gifts of David that brought him before King Saul and put him in Saul's court, right? And, actually God anointed and appointed, David to be the next king. But he started out as a musician in the king's court, because Saul was afflicted by this tormenting spirit. And, someone suggested to the king, hey, I know someone, right? So that's going to be like us. I know someone with this talent or with this skill or with this ability, and God is going to open these doors and give you these doors of opportunity. These opportunities are going to be before you. And when you step through, it may seem good at first, just like it was for David. So initially he comes in, he's anointed and appointed to be the next king. He's probably just like us. He doesn't know how it's going to happen. Saul is already on the throne still. He doesn't know how it's going to happen. So you may have these big dreams of, doing these great things, and that God has put it inside of you, but you don't know how it's going to happen and how you're going to get there, right? Leave that to God and just continue to do what you know to do. And for the time being, in David's case, it was just to play his instrument. He played the harp. And every time he played it for the king, it would just soothe him and stop that spirit from tormenting him. And initially they had a great relationship. Saul very, very much liked David. And, David grew and he got more notoriety within the king's court and among, the people of Israel. And, he's becoming more well known. And that's what happens when you're a very talented and gifted and anointed and appointed person. Right? It's going to bring you for great people, and you're going to gain a reputation, and some people might not like it. And that's what happened with King Saul, right? So really, David's problems really started to happen when he killed Goliath, right? And he actually wasn't even supposed to do that, right? So, they're in battle, and, David comes out, he's like, listen, I could take this Philistine on. And they're laughing at him, and they give him all his armor at first. He's like, no, I just need my slingshot and a rock. I'm good. And some rocks, I'm good. And he takes out the biggest enemy of Israel with a slingshot and a rock. Kills him dead, right? So, so this was a major victory for their, for Israel. It was their biggest enemy that David took out. And after that, that's when all of David's problems started, right? So they're singing songs about David and the great thing that he did. And, and Saul is listening. He's like, hey, they're singing about this kid and they're not singing about what I did on the battlefield. And he gets this insane, crazy jealousy, this homicidal jealousy. And now he's after David's life. And David literally has to run for his life from the king, the most powerful person in all of the land. David ran from Saul for over a decade. So imagine spending 10 years or more running from your enemy, running from the most powerful person you know, and that you really can't do anything about. So David was going from place to place. David was hiding in caves. It wasn't a good time for David. So I said all of that to say this, and recounting the story is that, sometimes we'll get before these great people and they may like us at first, as long as we are in the role of service, as long as we don't outshine them, as long as other people don't begin to like us more than them, as long as our star doesn't shine too brightly, they're good with us, right? As long as, they can still feel like they're in charge and they can still feel secure, they're good, but, for some people, their egos can't handle it, right? If you happen to be a very talented person and great at what you do, and what God is, the abilities that God has blessed you with, not everybody's going to like it, especially some people who might be in power and authority like King Saul, So David had to run basically until Saul died, right? So that was a long time to be on the run from the most powerful person in the land, right? So if we're not careful as we elevate into certain spaces and get before powerful people, because there are going to be a number of you out there, God is going to put you before great people, and you're going to be in places of influence. And when these things do happen, you have to be ready for the haters in high places, right? Because if you're not ready for the haters in high places, you could be destroyed, right? You could be, and sometimes God might put us in these positions, like the position that David was in, where you might have a tough time with that person in authority, with that particular leader, right? And you may experience some stress in dealing with that person. But God put David through all of that stuff to refine him and to make him stronger, because David was going to have to face some even greater challenges in his life and even bigger battles. So yeah, God may put us before these people and they may give us a little grief, but they can't, as long as you stay connected to God, like how David was, they can't take us down, so just know that, if God is in you and with you, no weapon formed against you will prosper. Just know that. So yeah, just be, be aware of, the people in power who could be jealous of you. They could do a lot of damage behind the scenes because they have power. They be like puppet masters pulling the strings, getting other people to do their dirty work and keeping their hands clean in the process. And we may not even know that they're the ones that's throwing the daggers at us, So that's why it's very important, especially as you elevate in life, that you pray and ask God for wisdom, and that God will open your spiritual eyes so you can see who your enemies are, regardless of where they sit, right? And also ask God for guidance on how to deal with them. David was in a very tough position, and we may be in tough positions too. In his case, he had to run. In some of our cases, we may have to steer very clear from that person in authority and who has a leadership position, who's very jealous of us and wants to take us down, right? So, it's not an easy position to be in, but just know that they can't take you down and they can't destroy you if God is with you. Okay, so definitely understand that. So that's what I wanted to share with you in this video. Take care. God bless. And I will see you in the next one. you.